Sam Pivnik, The Journey of a Survivor.
Sam Pivnik was born on September 1st, 1926. He is only one of the many members of his family. He lived with his mother, father, grandmother, older brother Nathan, sisters Hannah and Handel, and younger brothers Meir, Wolf, and Joseph. All 10 of them lived in a home on 7 Modrzejowska Street in Bezdin, Poland. This town that he lived in was one that he loved. He can play ball with all of his friends and worship the synagogue all in just in one central area. He even referred to it the Garden of Eden, where all was sweet paradise. Sam's father was a tailor and he had his own store. His occupation gave artisan status to the family. For this 12-year-old boy, his only worries were to appreciate his family, deepen his faith, and strive for a good education. On his 13th birthday, things changed when Germany invaded Poland. Little by little, day by day, the soldier population began to increase. At the time, children like Sam did not understand the purpose of the soldiers' presence. Murmurs of war spread throughout the air, but no one thought anything of it. Soon after, things began to click for Sam. Nothing was oblique anymore as the Jews became more and more untolerated. They were restricted with curfew, activities, and status. Eventually, Sam's father lost both his job and his status. These household shifts required Sam to stop in his tracks and get a job early. His first wage came from a man named Dombeck when he took care of his horses. Then, he and along with several hundred Jews worked in a furniture factory. Compared to Gentiles, Jews were paid much less because of the discrimination of the time. Food was the hardest struggle. With 10 people living in the house and only 4 able to make income, life became frustrating. What most families do in difficult times, however, is to all stick together and make the best out of the situation. In Sam Pivnik's early life, there is a symbol that can be tied into the Holocaust. Sam often compares his town to the Garden of Eden. All is well in bliss. When the Germans invade, man has sinned and the paradise gets corrupted. This certainly rips away his innocence and truly has him grow up quickly.
To the Kamoinka ghetto and later the Bezdin ghetto. Pivnik was liquidated from this ghetto on Wednesday, April 6th. He and his family were then put on a train for about 1 hour. When they arrived at Auschwitz Birkenau, they were greeted by Waffen SS officers, prodding people with guns and big, scary, snarling dogs. 2 groups had been formed, one with families and old men and women, and the other was full of men from their teens to their 50s. Sam's mother shoved him, telling him to save himself and go in line with all the men. Sam obeyed her and told her he'd see her tomorrow. This would be the last time he saw or spoke to his mother. Later, the officers shaved the prisoners and took away their identity. Sam was then identified with a number, 135913. Sam was forced to put on gross, coarse-feeling uniforms that had been previously worn by prisoners who had been killed. This was only the first day. Sam was given the job as ramp commando, which was the job of unloading new trains after the prisoners had been taken to the selection process. This gave him access to food and other valuables that helped him survive. On December 27th, he was admitted to the infirmary with suspected typhus. He was then transmitted to the main prisoner hospital. After his recovery, he was selected to work as a coal miner and overseer.
After the Western invasion of Allies on D-Day and the Russian attack in the east, the Nazi regime retreated back to Germany. Many camps were destroyed, so no evidence was left of their atrocious behavior, and the remaining prisoners were sent on forced marches towards Germany. This is when Sam's death march began. He started his travel along with 700 other prisoners on an icy cold January day. His travels began and the entire group was headed to the railroad station. Sam had eaten almost nothing for the past 2 days, but still continued and marched along the icy roads. When they finally arrived at the station, the prisoners were loaded onto the train. While on the train, Sam witnessed the death of others. He saw the dead thrown out the side of the train or used as another's meal. For the next 7 days, Sam survived without food and water. After 9 days on the train, it finally stopped in Dora, Mittelbau, near Nordhausen in the Harz Mountains. Sam could barely walk. He then received food after not eating in over a week. After surviving the surreal experience on the train, the remaining prisoners marched off to a subcamp called Regenstein. While in Regenstein, the SS were working the survivors to death. The SS gave them a brutal job of working in the tunnels with a dreadful diet. Sam put up a strong fight and suffered through the torture. On April 6, Sam began yet another death march. He had no idea where they were going or what was going to happen. He continued his second march for 3 days without food or drink. There was another selection. Sam was unsure if he would make it through. He was chosen along with 20 others to work on the farm of Max Schmidt. Sam worked on the farm for about a month and then was taken away to board the boat Arconia and sailed the Bay of Lubeck. Sam and other prisoners were loaded onto the prisoner ship. A few hours later, the ship was attacked by fighter bombers of the Royal Air Force, and the ship set fire and sunk. Sam miraculously managed to swim his emaciated body to shore. Sam Pivnik never thought the day would come where he would leave the horrible and atrocious mess he had been wrapped in for the past 2.5 years. It was May 4th, 1945. The day of freedom had arrived.
After a few weeks of being liberated, he started to grow his hair back and was recovering well. Sam knew the war was over. He arrived at a naval barrack which was swarming with refugees and camp survivors. Sam ripped off his stripes and finally felt free. Locals fed the survivors cheese and bread. The survivors spent hours exchanging their stories and talking. The next day, they got confirmation that the war had ended. People were running wild and happily yelling, "We're free." Many days and weeks after, people were all over the place, hungry, desperate, and broke. And Sam was one of them. Sam slept in his own bed with sheets and pillows for the first time in 6 years. Sam returned to the farm for a little while. He then stayed in Kriegsmarine barracks for 2 months. Sam reunited with his brother, and he did not look like Sam's brother, but Sam knew. They hugged and cried tears of joy and sadness. Sam and Nathan left together and spent lots of time together playing football.
Sam Pivnik displays an incredible life story that can impact anyone who learns about him. However, we must learn that he is only one of the millions who went through the same horrors and brutalities of that time. We must remember to never forget these heroic survivors that did everything in their power to keep fighting. Most importantly, we must remember to keep them in our minds, appreciating the idea that hope can still be found in the deepest of the ruins.